Good morning, Bucknutters, and welcome into the Bucknuts Morning 5 on Wednesday, March 11th, 2015. I am Dave Biddle. We'll get to our Alex Gleitman later in the show to talk 2016 quarterback recruiting. But up first, Ohio State had its first practice of the spring on Tuesday, and I have several takeaways. The biggest news of the day was that Braxton Miller was throwing a real football on the side. Yeah, you know it's spring when someone light tossing on the side is a big deal. That's the way it goes when we're talking about a two-time Big Ten MVP. Now, Miller still won't be able to cut it loose until summer, but it's good news that he's already throwing a real football. That being said, I think Cardale Jones will be the starting quarterback to begin the season, and J.T. Barrett will play in somewhat of a platoon role. Where that leaves Miller, I don't know, but it was good to see him out there yesterday. While talking to reporters after practice, Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer was non-committal about who his starting quarterback would be this fall. He said he's going to let things play out, but he did make a point to mention that Cardale is the only healthy one of the three this spring and will get, quote, a ton of reps. Although Jones helped lead the Buckeyes to the national championship and played very well, Meyer still referred to him as, quote, raw, which actually makes sense since Jones has only started 3 games in his collegiate career. Will his fourth one come at Virginia Tech to open the 2015 season? I think so. The other piece of big news from watching practice yesterday was that fifth-year senior Chase Ferris is getting the first crack at the starting right tackle job, replacing Darryl Baldwin. Jamarco Jones will push Ferris for the spot, but Ferris clearly has the inside track at this point. Ferris was the Buckeyes' 6th man on the offensive line last year and would be the only new starter of the group this season. Also on the O-line, Evan Lyle has moved inside to guard. He was one of the top tackle recruits in the country in the 2013 class, but is playing right guard for the Buckeyes. Lyle missed all of last season with a knee injury, and Taylor Decker described him as, quote, mean and gritty. That's a good combination for an offensive lineman to have right there, and it's good to know that Lyle is healthy and ready to provide depth up front. On defense, senior Tommy Shutt is getting first crack to be the starting defensive tackle next to Adolphus Washington, but I still think Donovan Munger will beat him out, or perhaps Michael Hill. But Shutt was running with the first team yesterday. He's been a disappointment up to this point in his career, but the Buckeyes are hopeful he can go out with a strong senior year. Also on the D-line, Tyquan Lewis is atop the depth chart at weak side defensive end, but that's going to be a good competition between him, Jalen Holmes, and Sam Hubbard. Another good competition is at corner, where Garyon Conley is slightly ahead of Damon Webb for the starting job opposite Eli Apple. But that's a battle that's going to continue throughout spring, into preseason camp, and likely into the season. On the injury front, Dontre Wilson still has not been cleared. He was working on the side yesterday. Wilson is coming back from a broken foot that he suffered against Michigan State in early November. Yes, Wilson played in the national championship game against Oregon, but it was just for one play and he was merely a decoy on a fake jet sweep. Corner Marshawn Lattimore also didn't practice yesterday. He's coming back from a hamstring surgery last August. It is unclear when Wilson and Lattimore will be cleared to practice. Switching gears, former Ohio State All-American linebacker A.J. Hawk signed a 2-year contract with the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday. Hawk, who played at Ohio State from 2002 to 2005 and won the Lombardi Award in 2005, was the number 5 overall pick of the 2006 NFL Draft by the Green Bay Packers. He spent the last 9 seasons with the Packers, including the 2010 season when Green Bay won the Super Bowl. Hawk is from Centerville, Ohio, which is less than an hour drive from Cincinnati, so this is a homecoming for him. He grew up a Bengal fan. Hawk will also join former high school and college teammate Mike Nugent on the Bengals. Now for the latest on the recruiting front, let's go out to our Alex Gleitman.
Alex Gleitman here, Bucknuts Morning 5. We're going to talk about the 2016 quarterback situation once again and really hone in on quarterback target Jared Guarantano. I talked about the Bergen Catholic, New Jersey standout yesterday on the front row. I dropped the nugget that Tennessee had lost a 4-star quarterback commit, Austin Kendall, and now would be going all in on Jared Guarantano, who will visit Knoxville on March 22nd. The Vols have a little bit of somewhat of an advantage, and we always talk about how every advantage in recruiting is an advantage, in that Butch Jones was a graduate assistant at Rutgers when Jared's father played for the Scarlet Knights, so there is a connection there. He's been down to Tennessee before. This is a return trip. Some inside Ohio State believe the Vols are the biggest threat to the Buckeyes to land the 4-star signal caller after Rutgers surged a little bit a few weeks ago. But the good thing for Ohio State is that Jared does plan to visit Ohio State maybe the week or two after he visits Tennessee. It could be in April, ending up being for the spring game before a decision is expected sometime before the summer. And right now, the way I see it, I actually think Tennessee, I agree that Tennessee would be the biggest threat for Ohio State at this time. I think if Rutgers was the pick, he would have made it by now. And I think this visit to Tennessee is going to be a big one. I'm sure he'll walk away from it feeling pretty good about it, but I think then the key will be, does he make the Ohio State visit? If he does, I think being back on campus, hanging out with Urban Meyer, new quarterbacks coach Tim Beck, and just the staff and the players, I think that will really sell him in, and I think he will be a Buckeye if he makes that trip. If there is no Ohio State trip after Tennessee, no matter what Jared says about how he's been to Ohio State a few times, he doesn't need to go before a decision's made. I just think that at the end of the day, he'll be a volunteer. So that's the latest and greatest on Jared Guarantano, the Ohio State top 2016 quarterback prospect. And if they don't land him, they could turn back to Dwayne Haskins, who was a top prospect at some point for the Buckeyes, but right now they feel Guarantano just fits their system a little bit better.
Thank you, Alex. It will be interesting to see what happens with Guarantano. Sounds like it will be difficult for the Buckeyes to beat out the Volunteers, but I somehow like Urban Meyer's chances. Speaking of quarterbacks, on Thursday after Ohio State's practice, we will interview Cardale Jones, JT Barrett, and new quarterbacks coach Tim Beck. Those interviews are scheduled for 11 a.m., so look for stories, bolts, and videos on the quarterbacks tomorrow afternoon. On the site today, Bill Kurlick's In the Dean's Office is already on the site for subscribers, where you can ask Bill any question about Ohio State football recruiting. Also on the site today, I will post a pair of practice videos from yesterday. We posted one yesterday. I'm going to post two more today. I'll post one later this morning and one this evening. And we'll, of course, have the boarding house posted around noon today. Thanks again to our Alex Gleitman, and thanks to you for tuning into the show. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day. Take it away, best damn band in the land.